So when I was growing up in northern New Brunswick, there's one thing you were sure of. No matter what Bob Newhart was involved with, you're going to laugh. Unfortunately, today news has crossed the doorstep that the master of the comedy arts has passed away. He was 94. He died Thursday after a series of short illnesses, his publicist said. Now, he was a deadpan accountant turned comedian who became one of the most popular TV stars of his time after striking gold with an with a Grammy-award winning classic comedy album. Now, Jerry Digney, Newhart's publicist, told AP the actor died Tuesday in LA after a series of short illnesses. Now, best remembered now as the star of two hit television sitcom shows in the 1970s and 80s, including the Bob Newhart Show and Newhart, that bore his name. He launched his career as a stand-up comic in the late 50s. He gained nationwide fame when his routine was captured on vinyl in 1960 as the button-down mind of Bob Newhart, which went on to win a Grammy Award as Album of the Year. While other comedians of the time, including Lenny Bruce, Mort Saul, Alan King, Mike Nichols, and Elaine May, frequently got last with their aggressive attacks on modern mores, Newhart was an anomaly. His outlook was modern, but he rarely raised his voice above a hesitant, almost staring delivery. His only prop was a telephone, used to pretend to hold a conversation with someone on the other end of the line. In one memorable skit, he portrayed a Madison Avenue image maker trying to instruct Abraham Lincoln how to improve the Gettysburg Address, say 87 years ago instead of 77, he advised. Another favorite was merchandising the Wright brothers, in which he tried to persuade the aviation pioneers to start an airline, although he acknowledged the distance of their maiden flight could limit them. Well, see, that's going to hurt our time at the coast if we got to land every 105 feet. Now, Newhart was initially wary of signing on to a weekly TV series, fearing it would overexpose the material. Nevertheless, he accepted an attractive offer from NBC, and the Bob Newhart Show premiered on October 11, 1961. Now, despite Emmy and Peabody Awards, the half-hour variety show was canceled after one season, a source for jokes by Newhart for decades later. He waited another decade before undertaking another Bob Newhart Show in 1972, this one being a situation comedy, with Newhart playing a Chicago psychologist living in a penthouse with his schoolteacher wife, the beautiful Suzanne Plachette. Their neighbors and his patients, most notably Bill Daly as an airline navigator, were a wacky, neurotic bunch who provided an ideal counterpart to Newhart's deadpan commentary. The series, one of the most acclaimed of the 70s, ran through 1978. Now, 4 years later, the comedian launched another show simply called Newhart. This time, he was a successful New York writer, what they call help books, who decided to reopen a long-closed Vermont inn. Again, Newhart was the calm, reasonable man surrounded by a group of eccentric locals, including Larry, Daryl, and Daryl, the iconic trio. Again, the show was a huge hit, lasting 8 seasons on CBS. It bowed out in memorable style in 1990 with Newhart in his old Chicago psychologist character, waking up in bed with Plachette, cringing as he tells her about the strange dream he had. I was an innkeeper in this crazy little town in Vermont. The handyman keep messing the point of things. And there were these three woodsmen, but only one of them talked. The stunt parodied the Dallas episode where a key character, Patrick Duffy, was killed off and then revived when the death was revealed to have been a dream. Two Larry series were comparative duds, Bob in 92-93 and George and Leo 97-98. Though nominated several times, he never won an Emmy for his sitcom work. I guess you think I'm not acting. That is just Bob being Bob. Now, over the years, Newhart also appeared in several movies, usually in comedic roles. Among them, Catch-22, In and Out, where she was shafted for an Oscar nomination, Legally Blonde 2, and Elf, as diminutive dad of adopted full-size son Will Ferrell. Most recent work including Horrible Bosses and a TV series of Librarians, The Big Bang Theory, and Young Sheldon. Now, Newhart married Virginia Quinn, now known to friends as Ginny, in 1964, and remained with her until her death in 2023. The 4 children, Robert, Timothy, Jennifer, and Courtney, they loved to death. Newhart was also a frequent guest of Johnny Carson and liked to tease the thrice divorced Tonight Show host that at least some comedians enjoy long-term marriages. He was especially close with fellow comedian and family man Don Rickles, whose raucous insult humor clashed memorably with Newhart's droll understatement. We're apples and oranges. I'm a Jew, he's a Catholic. He's low-key, I'm a yeller. Rickles told Variety in 2012. A decade later, Judge Apatow would pay tribute to her friendship in a short documentary Bob and Don, a love story. A master of the gently sarcastic remark, he got into comedy after became bored with his $5 an hour accounting job in Chicago. To pass the time, he and a friend Ed Gallagher began making funny phone calls to each other. Eventually, they decided to record them as comedy routines and sell them to radio stations. Their efforts failed, but their records came to the attention of Warner Brothers, who signed Newhart to a record contract and booked him into a Houston club in February 1960. A terrified 30-year-old man walked out on stage and played his first nightclub, he recalled in 2003. 6 of his routines were recorded during his 2-week date, and the album The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart was released, get this, on April Fool's Day, 1960. It sold an astounding 750,000 copies, then a record, and was followed by The Button-Down Mind Strikes Back. At one point, the albums ranked number 1, number 2 on the sales charts. The New York Times in 1960 said he was the first comedian in history to come to prominence through a recording. In addition to winning Grammy Album of the Year for his debut, he won his Best New Artist in 1960, and the sequel won his Best Comedy Spoken Word Album. Now, Newhart was booked then for several appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show and at nightclubs, concert halls, and college campuses across the country. He hated the clubs because of the heckling drunks he attracted. Every time I have to step out of a scene and put one of those birds in his place, it kills the routine, he said in 1960. In 2004, he received another Emmy nomination, this time as guest actor drama series for a role in ER. Another honor came his way in 2007, where the Library of Congress announced that it added The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart to his registry of historically significant sound recordings. Just 25 recordings are added each year to the registry, which was created in 2000. Now, Newhart made a bestseller list in 2006 through his memoir, I Shouldn't Even Be Doing This. He was nominated for another Grammy for Best Spoken Word Album, a category that includes audiobooks, for his reading of the book. I've always likened what I do to the man who was convinced that his last scene on Man on Earth, the Paul Revere of psychotics running through the town and yelling, "This is crazy," but no one pays attention to him. Now, born George Robert Newhart in Chicago to a German-Irish family, he was called Bob to avoid confusion with his father, who was also named George. At St. Ignatius High School and Loyola University in Chicago, he amused fellow students with imitations of James Cagney, Bogey, Jimmy Durante, and other stars. After receiving a degree in commerce, he served 2 years in the Army. Now, returned to Chicago after his service, he entered law school at Loyola, but flunked out. He eventually landed a job as an accountant for the State Unemployment Department. Bored with the work, he spent his free hours acting at a stock company in suburban Oak Park, an experience that led to the phone bits. It wasn't part of some comic cable. Newhart wrote in his memoir. Nichols and Elaine May, Shelley Berman, Lenny Bruce, Johnny Winters, Mort Saul, we didn't all get together and say, let's change comedy and slow it down. It was just our way of finding humor. The college kids would hear mother-in-law jokes and say, what the hell is a mother-in-law? What we did reflected our lives and related to theirs. He continued appearing on TV occasionally after his fourth sitcom ended and vowed in 2003 he would work as long as he could. It's been so much, 43 years of my life, to quit would be like something was missing. So, it's early 1980s. We're hearing a rumor that the Newhart Show has been picked up by CBC. This is my own personal story. And it was a guy at the store, my local convenience store in Nash Creek. He said, who's Bob Newhart? I was talking. And there were 6 or 7 people in there. And this is, I hope you don't mind a little bit profanity. What do you mean don't fucking know what Bob Newhart is? It's the funniest man on the planet. And the guy said, I've never heard of him. Well, he said, you're going to have to leave the store. Like 6 or 7 people were basically lambasting him. And like the first thought of when I heard he passed away, he was that well known, a little corner of northern New Brunswick. A guy was almost beaten up because he didn't know who Bob Newhart was. And my only regret, I never met him to tell that story. Can you imagine the local press? Man killed because he didn't know who Bob Newhart is. That would be the ultimate tribute, that the only person in northern New Brunswick who didn't know who Bob Newhart was. And I think he got the marquee 7 o'clock on CBC, CHSJ on Mondays. That was marquee because Monday was a big viewing. But my God, the Newhart Show, there were so many skits, so many good actors. But Larry, Daryl, and Daryl, my God, ladies and gentlemen, Bob, he created a monster with those people. And one of the characters, obviously, he ended up being on Lonesome Dove in Blade Runner. So he was more known for being on Newhart. We completely forgot he was on Lonesome Dove and Blade Runner, and he was murdered in Coal Miner's Daughter, so that's pretty freaky. So ladies and gentlemen, the great Bob Newhart, we're going to miss you, brother. And by the way, I'm going to post this. Anybody with any comments, their best memory of Bob Newhart, let me know. He was everybody's funny uncle. He'd be at the table, like, tell us a clean joke. I don't think he ever told a dirty joke, because why would he need to tell a dirty joke? You know, he's Bob Newhart. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share.